Oh, hello to Simon Woods from simonwoods.com with a mouthful of cake. We've got quite a lot of cake around at the moment. It's been my father-in-law's 70th birthday this weekend, and the kind man has gone away for a few days, leaving us with quite a lot of cake. So I need something to drink with that cake, so I had 3 sweet wines that needed opening, so I've opened them and I'm going to see what I'm going to have with my cake later. First candidate. Now people pick up a glass of wine and they go, oh, peaches, lychees, asparagus, peppermint, blah blah blah. Very seldom do they actually say grapes, even though wine's made from grapes. But the Muscat grape actually makes wines that taste and smell of grapes. This one here, Muscat, as they call it in France, Muscat de Rivesaltes, from the enterprising Montoche in the south of France. And it's what they call a vin doux naturel, and they make it by starting off making a regular wine. When the fermentation's halfway through and there's still some sugar in the juice, tip a load of alcohol in there, the yeast cells go, cark it, and you're left with a wine that's got a quite high alcohol level, 15.5%. and this sweetness. And let's see whether it smells grapey. True to form, it smells very grapey. And the other thing I get here is barley sugar. Now, you say barley sugar to some people and they go, and if you're in the UK you've heard of barley sugar, but if you've not heard of it, it's a little orange boiled sweet that for some reason you find them in chemists. I don't think they've got any medicinal properties, but that's always where I remember seeing them on sale. Yes, it's a mouthful of plump, juicy grapiness. Very, very tasty. Not very complex, but just lovely, big and plump. You know when you get one of those rolls of fat down there and you push your finger and it goes, that's the sort of wine this is. And you can tell you get a little bit of the heat from that alcohol there, but it's not dominant at all. It's just, yeah, it just sits there perfectly. Nice balance there. And I think that's very cake friendly, very Christmas pudding friendly as well. If you get to the end of your Christmas lunch and you still need some more wine, that will be perfect with a Christmas pud. And if you're feeling a bit full, there's another Muscat wine called Moscato d'Asti. It's the big brother of Asti from Asti that used to be called Asti Spumante, and it's 5.5% alcohol or thereabouts, semi-sparkling, and it's just frothy fun, really tasty. People say, what would be your desert island wine be? And they expect you to say, oh, I'd have a top Napa Cabernet or a Grand Cru Burgundy, but I always say Moscato d'Asti. It's not that it's the best wine in the world, but think about what if you're sitting under a palm tree dressed in your hula hula skirt, what sort of wine do you want? You want something like Moscato d'Asti. Okay, the next 2 wines are both what's called botrytis affected. Now botrytis is a fungus. And it doesn't sound great, does it? Botrytis cinerea, also known as noble rot. It's something that happens in vineyard regions where there's a bit of warmth, but there's also a bit of humidity, and it creates this moist cloud, and it sits around the grapes, and the grapes start to get, well, it's like the wine equivalent of thrush, some like a mould growing, and what happens is the grapes start to shrivel up, they get smaller and smaller, and they get this furry mould on them. They look absolutely dreadful. I mean, if you've ever left a grape down the back of a chair or something like that and found it a few months later, they look worse than that. You think, how on earth can someone make some wine from that? But they can. You don't get much out, because what's happened is they've all shriveled up, the flavours have been concentrated, a lot of the water's evaporated. But then you crush them, and you have to do it very gently, and you get tiny amounts of nectar, really. First one, it's an Australian wine, Peggys Riesling from the Eden Valley, which is part of the Barossa region. And botrytis has this quite characteristic smell, things like dried apricots. And if you've ever split a peach stone in half and smelt the kernel, it's got like a weird smell of the mixture of polished wood and this almost sandalwood character, a very aromatic character. And I get that here, but I also get a bit of the Riesling character coming through, more citrusy, that style. It smells really tasty. Bit of cream as well. Oh, that's light, that's dainty wine. Yeah, tiptoeing wine, that. It's people think of Australian wines as sometimes being just like a big galumphing mouthful of not very subtle, not great subtlety. But here, you've got there's not a huge amount of, it's not incredibly botrytis affected. You can almost overdose on botrytis, but here it's really nicely balanced. There's a freshness about it. In Germany does great botrytis wines, and it reminds me of something like a Rheingau Auslese. Terrific wine, this. Because Riesling's got loads and loads of acidity, so when you make a sweet wine from it, it's never cloying. I mean, acidity, some people are put off by the term, but think about if you had a pancake and you just put sugar on without putting the lemon juice on, it's just a bit too cloying and fat. Here, that acidity is there to clean up the mouth. Next one here, Tokai. Now, Tokai is also made from botrytis grapes, but it's made in a slightly different way, rather odd way actually. What you've got is you've got a regular wine in a bucket, although it's not called a bucket, it's called a gonki. And then you've got the botrytis grapes, and you mash them up and make a paste, and you do it in a smaller bucket called a pétonnier. And then you add 1 pétonnier, 2 pétonnier, 3 pétonnier, 4. And that's how you determine how sweet the wine is, by how many pétonniers you put in your gonki. This one's 5 pétonniers. And the main grape here is one called Ferment, which, like Riesling, susceptible to botrytis, but lots of acidity. Now this is 8 years old now, this is 2001 vintage. And you're getting a bit of that age character coming through. So there is that apricot-y botrytis, but there's also like a burnt sugar character here. Marmalade. If you've ever your marmalade and you've ever done that and the peel has burnt, you get that burnt peel. Or if you've ever made a Christmas cake and there's bits of peel that have been poking out and have hit the edge of the cake tin. Ooh. I was going to spit that out, but then I thought, I'm only living once. It's concentrated, but it's delicate with it. And as with the Riesling, there's that acidity there. It's like Kim and Aggie have been in and cleaned your mouth afterwards. It's the sort of wine. Just getting back how we started on cake. For me, because of that, what tends to happen with wines as they age, sweet wines, they tend to taste less sweet as they get older. So I think that, yeah, you could have that with some cake, but I'd actually rather have that with some blue cheese. I think I'm going to have some muscat with the cake, and the Peggys, well, I think I'll just pour that over my navel and try and lick it out, but I'm not going to get that on video for you.